This is Team Busy Coding, and we're here to present RentalDash Pro. All right, my name's Ronnie. I got Ryan, Brent, and George. All right, our main idea for this project was to create a dashboard, an admin dashboard for rental property owners. So if you have a rental property and you want to, have a centralized place where you can check your maintenance reminders, you can check financial reports if you're making money or losing money on the property. You just want to store, documents for that rental property, legal documents or just documents in general that have to do with that property. This would be the place to go. All right, so again, we're at RentalDashPro.com, and real quick, I'm going to go through a quick introduction, what the site is and what we do. And then Ryan and Brent are going to do a quick demo. They're going to log in and go through the site, and then George will finish up with things we want to do for the future. All right, so the technologies that we use, obviously, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery. We use Bootstrap, thinking about Foundation, but towards the end, we just ended up going with Bootstrap. And Firebase, obviously, for the data stuff. We tried and somewhat got working the storage for Firebase and the user authentication. We also did loading templates using Ajax. So we created some of the templates that you're going to see on the dashboard. The page doesn't refresh. It'll just grab a template file and load it onto the main content area with an Ajax call. Google Maps and the Google Complete API, so that when you type in a location, it'll populate your address, in that field. And then the Google reCAPTCHA, just so that the sign-up form, there's a little bit of validation there. Can't be a robot and sign up for RentalDash Pro. Gotta check that. Chart.js is for some of the graph stuff that we have on there. It's a library, allows you to manipulate the charts and the data, and make it look all pretty and stuff. Parsley.js was for form validation. So we could have done the validation ourselves. Bootstrap has a lot of that, but Parsley.js made it really simple to just validate the entire form. If there's something wrong with one of the fields, it would show you the error and then allow you to reset the form after they submit or cancel. And we all know Moment.js. All right, so some of the features for our site. We have, you can manage all your rental properties, so you can log into the dashboard. You'll see your list of rental properties. You can add a property. You can set different statuses, so if it's occupied, if it's vacant, or if you just want to archive, maybe you don't own it anymore, but you don't want to lose the documents. That's one of the features that we wanted to implement on here. Go ahead. All right, financial reports. So you can save financial information. You can save some financial information. Rent, HOA fees, any of that stuff, you edit that, it'll save it to Firebase and pull it down anytime you need it. And then it auto-generates some reports, so again, it'll tell you if you're profiting, if you're losing money, any of that stuff. All right, and then the document storage, we thought this was really important. We tried to implement, some document storage capabilities, so you could click on that property, upload, let's say, the rental agreement if you have someone there, and it'll save it on file for you. And you can do things like that with a property in particular, or just your dashboard in general, just load templates or anything that you might use. And lastly, got that straight from Bootstrap. We wanted to have the ability to do the maintenance reminders. So if you wanted to create a, let's say, I have to fix the AC at this property location on this day, you can do that, and it'll save it in there, and you can look at it for, future. All right, from here we'll go straight into the demo. Ryan will take over and do the demo.
All right, so like he said, it's using Firebase user authentication. So they actually have I gotta use the sample one, because all the data's in there. So this is the page that loads when you first log in. You've got a list of your properties, so you can actually search by the occupied, vacant, or the archived ones is like a house you sold, but you still need the data for tax purposes or whatever. You can keep those. The archived properties aren't factored into reminders or finance or anything. They're just there in case you ever need the data again. If you scroll down, you've got a reminder area for all your properties, so you can search by which property you want the reminders, and you can even check the ones that have already been completed. So when you add a new reminder, it's actually going to sort by date, so it'll pop up first, and then if you mark it completed, it'll be over here, and if you delete it, it'll be gone forever. So that was tricky because that was built from scratch. It's not something that we could find that we gave the functionality we wanted. From there, there's a financial summary. So this is just basic income and expenses for each of your properties, and the chart.js provides a lot of the hovers that you need. It also lets you search through the legend. So if you just want to see your income for your properties, you can turn off the expenses or you can turn off the income. Just for comparison. To add a new property, we have this modal pop up, and like he's saying, it uses Parsley. So the cool thing about Parsley is it's got a lot of the CSS built in. So as you start changing it, it lets you know it's okay. And then this is the Google Maps autocomplete. So if you start typing an address, it fills in for you. Choose your property type. Choose the status, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and then you can actually add it. And so from there, the actual property page, these are all like Ajax loaded, so we have yet to leave dashboard.html. It's just within the site, it's reloading in this window. So when you have a new property, if you want to change the statistics, you can click this button here, and all these fields will populate. And all this gets pushed to Firebase and pulled from Firebase constantly. If you want to upload an image of your property, you can click here to choose a file. He doesn't have any images that we could use, but that'll upload the image to Firebase and then display it here for you. So we're actually storing the images on our side in Firebase. Then if you want to like fill in all the rent and everything for a property, it'll build out a nice chart for you so you can actually see what your profit is on that property based on the money you're collecting and the expenses you're sending out. Then you've got the reminders for just this property, so you can add to this property or view this property, but the reminders on this page are just for this property. The owner document storage we didn't quite get to. It was really hard to get the image storage to work to push an image to Firebase. Firebase requires the images to be less than 10 megabytes and in 64-bit format. So we have to take the image that's given to us and change it so that we can push it to Firebase. And then once we push it to Firebase, we have to get the URL that will actually display it. So that was probably one of the trickier things that had to get done, was the image display. So that's the basic functionality of the site as it is today. And George will talk about sort of where we want to go from the future.
All right, so there's a lot of things that we really wanted to put in here. I think we come running out of the gate very ambitious of what we wanted to do and what we were able to actually accomplish. As you can see here, we want to integrate Zillow or possibly or MLS integration, and that's going to help us with giving a more detailed look at our property details as far as square footage down to the exact bit. Being able to validate it against something like MLS or Zillow is going to really help us out a lot. We also wanted to have more robust finance management. For that, just being able to track the expenses month to month, track our ROI over like a course of a couple of months versus a year, et cetera. And then also kind of have like API integration for, I think it's what, Twilio? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for Twilio, it's just like having text reminders that's sent directly to your phone. Things like that. Mobile design itself, right now the site is somewhat responsive, but it's not responsive down to a T. It's not perfect in terms of using it on a mobile device, so it's not absolute yet. There's a couple other things, like he was talking about document storage. Document storage, I think I put lots of time into it and I just couldn't get it to work the way we wanted it to. Like, it would work, but it wouldn't be perfect, and we just didn't want to roll it out when it was not really doing what it needed to do. So, you know, that's definitely a big thing that we want to work on for the future. I mean, we're hopefully going to keep pushing with this, so. Is there any questions? Yes.
I think this is a major concept that actually fills a need in the real world. Is it something that you guys as a group plan to pursue further?
We were talking about ideas in the beginning.
I think we're going to.
Yeah.
We've already dropped about 180 something commits into this project, and we've already probably pushed over
think more
200
than that.
hours working on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's something we're definitely going to stick with to actually make profit off it later.
Yeah, I mean, it was really random in the beginning, and you know, Ronnie just happened to mention he saw something like this. What was it, Reddit? You were looking through, and
Project idea, so I
You-
thought this would be pretty cool. And there's some companies out there that already do something like this, but you know, just trying to make it look prettier. Sometimes you get, you know, real estate or their website is just not there. So just trying to make something that's a little more up to date.
yep.
From like from the renter side, how would you go in and use the site so like I could choose a property to rent, or did you not build that in?
So that's not what we meant by adding tenant-side login. What the tenant-side login would be is like when you rent my property, I issue you a username and email, so then you can log in, see the property, see the rental documents. You can go in and say, hey, the AC is not working. And then, so the Twilio API is actually what Uber uses to text you, like your driver's here and everything. So then the owner would get a text, hey, the AC is not working at this address or whatever. And then there's some sites like PushPay and things like that that you could integrate payment processing so that they could log in and you can set up auto recurring payments and things like that from the tenant side. Super long term, we had talked about even turning it into like a MLS style thing where the owner would go in and say, oh, this property's vacant, and click a button and push to our own MLS of rental properties essentially.
Or even doing something with Zillow where Zillow actually like turns it over to us, and then we hook up somebody that's looking for an apartment or a house or a condo, whatever, and then we can then, you know, facilitate that need.
Yeah, and the only other thing, I was talking with a friend that's in the programming community, and he was thinking more large scale. You know, if we clean it up in generic, make it a little more generic, it then becomes any single unit that owns multiple things for management. So if you are like the dude in the blind side that owns 137 Taco Bells, you could log in and manage all your Taco Bells, or if you're a company with 4 locations. So it's more than just rental properties. I mean, it's any single owner that has multiple entities to manage.
Now, I noticed that you guys were saying that you could use Ajax to just basically switch what we were viewing
Yeah.
on your dashboard. Now, is that like along the lines of what we learned with the slideshow?
No, so the way it's working is this page, this dashboard.html is just this header and just this sidebar and then an empty div. So for initial dashboard login, it goes and grabs the overview template and puts it inside there. And then from the overview template goes and grabs the reminders template and puts that in there, and the finance template and puts that in there. So it's loading all these pages together. So then when I click on a page, you'll see that the URL doesn't change. It just reloads the content for that wrapper. So it speeds up the functionality of the website because you're not constantly reloading pages. You're only pulling from Firebase once and all the data's there. And since you're not reloading pages and reloading Firebase, you're just reusing the information that's already been given to you over and over again.
Right. The other thing with the MLS and Zillow APIs, and that'll, you know, speak a lot to what he was talking about, speeding up everything. When we have that functionality built in, instead of the tenant having to go through and when they create a property and typing all that information in, they just type in the address, boom, it populates everything.